initiative in Louisville is being credited for helping to reduce crime in the city. Community Violence Intervention reaches out to people at the highest risk of committing or being victimized by violence. WLKY's Manash Kawari shows us how the program works and could be expanded.
As long as my kids have a roof over their head and food in the house, I'm okay.
It's what Mercedes Scott calls the bare minimum, something she has no problem providing now, but that wasn't always the case.
No, I didn't ever get in trouble, but I did go through a domestic violence.
A domestic violence situation that ultimately led to her life being threatened.
Where I had to find me another place to stay so I wouldn't, so I wouldn't be in no more danger.
A situation that far too many times would have gone overlooked, but not anymore. Using federal funds, Metro's Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods introduced community violence intervention.
It's a sort of a public health approach, which really believes that violence is really transmitted through, a network of individuals.
Individuals who Paul Callanan, the Assistant Director of the Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, says are at the highest risk of committing or being victim to a crime.
And the idea is if we can reach out to these individuals and intervene, whether it's mitigating violence, mitigating conflicts between groups, offering services to individuals that are involved in violence, we can stop that transmission and thus reduce violence.
And Callanan says programs like this have helped reduce crime overall in the city, including a nearly 40% reduction in the number of shootings so far this year over the same time period last year. Now he says they're looking to expand. They're looking for businesses in West Louisville to partner with to serve as a site where the interventions can take place.
We currently have 2 sites that are in place right now, and we're expanding to additional 4. We just released an RFA for that.
Callanan says the goal is to expand the program to all of the neighborhoods that are at high risk. But they need the businesses in those areas to also want to make a change.
It's a rewarding effort. It's a way to have a direct impact on the violence in your community.
If you are a West Louisville business owner and are interested, the application process is open from now until June 17th. Reporting in Louisville, Manash Kawari, WLKY News.
Thank you, Manash. The 4 businesses that are chosen to be intervention sites will be receiving $450,000 to implement that program. The target areas are Shawnee, Russell, California, Park Hill, Parkland, Park Duval, Chickasaw, and Newburgh.
The city of Charleston is taking on the issue of gun violence, and now the medical university is helping to combat repeat offenders and the spike in gunshot victims. News 2's Kate Prestag joins us live from MUSC, and this is an idea being welcomed by police and doctors. Kate.
Yeah, Brennan, right now, gun violence, the leading cause of death for children in our state, and MUSC officials say we are also dealing with it here in the city of Charleston.
The issue seen on the peninsula just last week.
We had 5 victims show up at the same time. 1 died. They were all young people in their teens and in their 20s.
Dr. Ashley Hank with the Medical University of South Carolina says this is when the hospital and community violence prevention and intervention program comes in. A team of men serving as advocates for those impacted by gun violence.
They work alongside of other community groups. They were alongside of our police right in the trauma bay when they showed up the other day.
It's a program Dr. Hink is hoping to get more funding for through the city of North Charleston and the city of Charleston to ensure those who end up in the hospital don't end up back in a cycle of violence.
75% of the patients we serve are from Charleston and North Charleston. About 34% are from North Charleston, and more than that are from the Charleston area.
Mayor Tecklenburg says it's a crisis, and the city already has programs in place to mentor and influence youth.
16, 18-year-old kids, if you will, unfortunately are at the point where they are as hardened as you can imagine.
The Charleston Police Department says there are 4 more programs as it helps their investigations and the community.
We can't do it all.
The Deputy Chief of Investigations says while they also have community programs through CPD, they welcome agencies who are not law enforcement.
People still, can have a wall between law enforcement and the community. So other groups that can be an intermediary and be that point of contact, and if they can turn one young person's life around, then that's a win for all of us.
Those with MUSC say that they are expected to give a presentation at the next city council meeting to acquire funds through the American Rescue Plan. We're now live at downtown Charleston. I'm Kate Prestak, Channel 2.
Initiative is coming to Raleigh. It's called the Community Violence Intervention Program and was introduced by Raleigh's top cop yesterday. CBS 17's Brea Hollingsworth is live in Raleigh with more on what leaders are planning to do. Brea.
Yeah, this program is a collaboration of several organizations that provide support for people at risk of violence. The president of the Raleigh Apex chapter of the NAACP told me that this is personal. He's lost multiple family members to violence. From Uvalde to Highland Park, gun violence is happening both nationally and locally.
I think people are on edge coming out of a pandemic. I think we have mental health issues that are also contributing to that.
The Raleigh Police Department, NAACP, and other organizations working to figure out ways to curb gun violence in the community through the Community Violence Intervention Program. The program aims to support and identify people at risk of violence. Raleigh Apex NAACP President Gerald Given Jr. says the program is broken down into 4 different parts: violence intervention, cognitive behavior therapy, survivor support services, and ecological systems.
And that first phase, violence intervention, it pretty much deals with the boots on the ground and a hospital violence intervention program.
Given says the program would be similar to Durham's Bull City United, where violence interrupters and outreach workers would act as mediators in troubled communities.
We're going to have people who are familiar and who've experienced gun violence, and there'll be case managers that'll work at a hospital. And then we'll have some folks that we'll pay to be inside the communities, have their ear to the ground, and be there to negotiate the ceasefires and prevent gun violence in the community.
Now, the president of the Raleigh Apex NAACP says they are currently in the early phases of the project. They say they are currently developing a gun violence prevention exploration team that would gather input from different cities that have reduced gun violence by 30% or more. He says he hopes to have the program up and running by January. In Raleigh, Brea Hollingsworth, CBS 17 News.
Now at 6 o'clock, breaking the cycle of violence in the capital city with the help of some hospitals.
For the first time ever, all 3 hospitals in Hartford are working together to assist victims of gun violence with necessary resources.
Channel 3 Hartford Bureau Chief Aya Glal has more right now on a new intervention program.
In 2002, I lost my son, Randy, to gun violence, so I know firsthand the trauma and all the things that parents go through when they lose a loved one.
It's an unprecedented collaboration in the city of Hartford. St. Francis Hospital, Connecticut Children's, and Hartford Hospital coming together to form a new hospital-based violence intervention program.
And this matters so much because we know that one of the greatest tragedies of the epidemic of gun violence is that those whose lives are touched by gun violence are often touched by gun violence again and again.
The program will connect victims of gun violence to resources and support systems long after their physical wounds heal. The collaboration includes Hartford's 3 hospitals, as well as community partners like Mothers United Against Violence, Hartford Communities That Care, and Compass Youth Collaborative.
Violence is a multifaceted issue, has many different prongs, and so therefore we have to take many different angles and come together in order to support this work.
Through the program, hospital staff trained in violence intervention will coordinate long-term case management with gun violence victims. Specialists will also connect patients with mentoring, home visits, and provide family engagement and peer supports.
Quite frankly, this is where we need to be at as a city.
The program is built off of St. Francis Hospital's Violence Intervention Program, which has served nearly 1,900 victims and families of gun violence since 2004. The city is committing $2 million to the initiative, which begins this summer. In Hartford, Aya Glal, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
I'm Gary. I'm Daryl. And I'm James. And together we're the Community Violence Intervention Program Team. Or better yet known as the CVIP team. Here at MedStar Washington Hospital Center, I work with the Community Violence Intervention Program, and we are responsible for seeing all the patients that come in the hospital for any type of community-based violence, gunshots, stabbings, and assaults. And we help those patients with resources within the community. We try to help them find jobs. We try to make sure they make it back and forth to their doctor's appointments. We try to help them with interview clothes and different things, like a really, really hands-on case management part, so that we could try to help stop the recidivism of the injuries within the community. I got involved with this line of work through Gary and talking to Gary and learning the type of work that he did. And we had a connection that we built through playing football together. So we both grew up in some of the same areas. So we experienced a lot of different things outside of our everyday homes, like out on the street and stuff like that. I was learned of this position through Gary, Gary and I worked together at the nonprofit organization Collaborative Solutions for Communities. There we both was violent intervention specialists on the ground. Here at MedStar Washington Hospital Center, I am a community treatment navigator. We follow victims and survivors of violence, any community-based violence, gunshot stabbings or assaults, and we provide community outreach resources and wraparound support for them and help them navigate their everyday life barriers to the next level. My position is the violence intervention specialist. I'm basically like the first point of contact, basically bringing them comfortability. Bringing them comfortability and showing them that we can relate to them and we're here for them and we're not just another doctor or another nurse that's coming in to give them some type of medical treatment, whether it's taking them to surgery or sticking them with another needle. Just showing them someone that's here for them and letting them know outside of their family, we're here to help them, here to support them, and they're not going through this alone while they're here in the hospital. We have had instances where we have had guys who tell us they don't want to talk initially when we first come into the room. However, with us being consistent and going each day to check on them while they're inside the hospital, it gives them a sense of hope, and to see like people that's checking on them come from the community that they come from, or they can relate to some of the social issues that they have within the community. I think that opens up a door for them. And then we also tell them that, you know, we regular humans just like you. You know what I'm saying? We come from the same background as some of y'all. So we try to give them that piece of hope and that little bit of push to say, come on, we can help you get over this hump, because change can be scary and a lot of guys don't want to accept the change. However, we also tell a lot of guys, like, you know, a lot of people aren't able to overcome some of the injuries that some of these guys overcome. And by them overcoming some of the injuries, you ask them what they're going to do next, because it's a blessing that you're able to walk out of here.
Stop the shooting, stop the killing. Hey, how you doing, man? You know, I've been to more funerals than I have graduations. I can't even count the number of funerals that I've been to.
In 2016, Chicago saw some of the worst violence it's seen in the last 20 years.
Look at them bullet holes. Look at them bullet holes.
Since the start of 2016, more than 4,100 people in Chicago have been shot and more than 700 have been killed. Do you remember what that was like 20 years ago?
Yeah, it wasn't this bad. It wasn't this bad.
Really?
No, I don't think it's never been like this. Everybody getting shot now, old ladies, babies.
Pastor Brooks said 4-year-old Kayvon Collins was shot in the face.
Old men, you know, everybody.
73-year-old Ronald Allen of Naperville was a radio host, author, and activist. A gunman took his life this morning.
Which is exactly why Ulysses U.S. Floyd, former gang member turned outreach worker, and other violence interrupters from Ceasefire are outside in near freezing temperatures, handing out literature.
It's a number on here where they can call, hotline.
Ceasefire's violence interrupters were featured in a 2011 documentary called The Interrupters.
The only thing came to my mind was retaliating. They got to know they did the wrong person.
I didn't recognize them yet on a hoodie. I ain't recognize them.
You know everybody?
Just about. If I don't know them, they know them. We hire people from the community, people that they know, credible messengers. And they got relationships. You see that relationship? He took them to the side. Now he talking to them about something that happened.
Like if you finna do something and I get a chance to do the loan, I can keep talking to you.
There you go.
Accepting it. You, by the time you get, you've been, all right, come on, I'm going to
That's one of our tactics. We call it buying time.
You know that standing on 90th and Commercial between the hours of 4 to 8, you could be shot.
Ceasefire. Stop the shoot. What's been going on with you, man? How you been? Always a pleasure to see you. All of us probably been affected some kind of way by violence. Friends, relatives, cousins.
Gotta give her a hug.
Yeah.
She knows. She lost her daughter to violence, so this is one reason why I do it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They are very supportive.
Yeah, I've had my lows sometimes when violence continues to happen, but I have situations where I've seen where we stop certain incidents, conflicts, we save lives, and that just regenerate, just fire me back up.
CAVI was created to really provide a service and help people in the community understand and be able to process trauma. This is my 20th year as a physician, and growing up in Brooklyn and treating patients in New York City as well as in Chicago, we saw this common theme of violence. And taking it up another notch, this other thing, which is recurrent violence. And when you start looking at people coming in with medical problems and you see a pattern of recurrence, you start to ask yourself why? Why aren't we doing something more specifically to just eradicate its existence? And I don't know if I talked to Yasef about it, we're seeing a lot more older people coming in who were assaulted.
So I do the initial contact here at Kings County Hospital. We get a trauma code that comes through, a level 1. I go and meet the patient by the bedside. I usually, read off the body language, versus communicating, because every time I go in there and say, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? We could easily get oh, I'm fine, I'm okay, versus your body language is telling me that you're really not okay. So I just try to, give them the time to breathe, pause, introduce myself, let them know what I'm here to do.
My role at CAVI is I'm a violence intervention specialist. I started in January. What we do basically at CAVI, we deal with the patients that come in with gunshot wounds, stab wounds, and assault victims. And we advocate for them, we talk to them. They might not feel safe in their neighborhood anymore. They might need housing. They might need an emergency transfer. So we help them with that. We help them with transportation. We help them with wraparound services.
So how was your first day?
My first day, I think it went well. Well, he said he never seen a person a day in his life, and it happened on his block. So he don't really even know too much about the person. So I don't feel it'll be a retaliation or nothing like that.
I go in there, I don't sugarcoat it. I just be me, even just by saying, hello, are you okay? Those words go a long way. And, our patients look for that. They look for just someone coming in there and speaking to them and letting them know that, everything will be okay.
For some reason, the ambulance got there immediately. I remember telling them to take my sneakers off so they wouldn't get too much blood on them. I had a good pair of jeans on. I knew they were gonna cut those. I believe once they started cutting the jeans, I just blacked out after that. By the time I made it to the hospital, it was actually Christmas. It was after 12. There were no surgeons available that day, I believe. So I had surgery on the 26th, early in the morning, first thing in the morning. Kings County got me into surgery. But before the surgery, they drilled 2 holes in my knee, and they put a rod in there, and then they put a weight system on the end of the rod to pull the bones down to keep it in place, which was excruciating pain. There was one bullet that went in about right here and came out on my upper thigh. But in this passage, it destroyed everything there. But when they explained to me the damage and I seen the x-ray, I was shocked. I was in awe because to know that that's your bone was once like this and now is like that, it's something that is unfathomable. Like, you can't even describe it, really.
But yeah, I can definitely reach out to them and give them a call.
Okay.
So funny because when I actually went to go visit Derek was kind of skeptical on, speaking because, we coming in, we're like, who is these people?
My sister Taisha, my first memory of her, and she comes in with her suit, her uniform. I don't know if it was the morphine or what. I thought she was the cops. And I was just like, listen, I spoke to y'all already.
I went back to visit Derek again the next day and, I tried to be consistent during the time that he was here so he know that I'm for real, and it ain't a game. And then Derek started opening up. Then Derek started telling me his needs and his wants.
One thing I can say is the emotional support. They talk to you and check on you constantly to the point that sometimes you're like,